3 months after Commander Threll's ship left the solar system, the Velen Empire received his message. It spread through their civilization like wildfire. The disposal planet had life. Not just life intelligent, dangerous life that had stolen their technology and built warships. The Emperor himself demanded an explanation. How had this happened? How had centuries of dumping failed to destroy these creatures? Scientists and military commanders were called to answer questions that had no good answers. Some voices called for immediate destruction of Earth. Send the fleet, they said. Burn the planet to ash. Show these primitives the true power of the Empire. But other voices urged caution. These humans had survived everything the Empire had thrown at them. They had taken Velen waste and turned it into weapons. Perhaps they were more dangerous than they appeared. While the Empire debated, Earth prepared. Admiral Una stood in the United Nations Assembly Hall, no longer speaking in secret sessions. The whole world knew about the aliens now. The whole world needed to know what was coming. We have won the first battle, she told the assembly. We caught them by surprise. We showed them we are not the helpless primitives they thought we were. But this is not over. The Velen Empire will respond. We must be ready. Construction of new warships accelerated. Factories worked day and night, producing alien metal armor and energy weapons. Every nation contributed resources and people to the global defense effort. Old enemies set aside their differences to face the common threat. In the research base, Dr. Wu continued his work despite his failing health. He was 72 years old now, and his body was giving up. But his mind remained sharp, and he had one more gift to give humanity. I have been studying the alien biology samples, he told Yeri, who had become his most trusted colleague over the years. The Velen are not immune to their own toxins. They are just very good at avoiding them. He showed her his research. The Velen had developed technology to keep poison away from their bodies. But their actual biological resistance was weak. Centuries of depending on machines had made them vulnerable. If we can deliver concentrated toxins to their ships, to their planets, Wu said, we could use their own weapons against them. Yuri finished. Wu smiled. Exactly. They have been poisoning us for centuries. Now we can return the favor. The new weapons were developed in secret. Missiles filled with compressed alien toxins. Bombs that could spread poison across entire military bases. The same chemicals that had killed humans for generations would now be turned against their creators. 6 months after the first confrontation, the Velen response arrived. It was not one ship. It was 50. The fleet appeared at the edge of the solar system. A line of massive warships far larger than anything humans had built. Their weapons could destroy cities in seconds. Their armor could withstand nuclear explosions. They had come to teach humanity a lesson. Admiral Una watched the fleet approach on her command screen. Around her, officers worked frantically to coordinate the defense. 20 human warships stood between Earth and the alien fleet, everything humanity had been able to build. We are outnumbered more than 2 to 1, General Day said quietly. And their ships are bigger. Size does not always matter, Una replied. We have something they do not expect. She opened a channel to the fleet commander, a Velen admiral named Vorn. His gray face appeared on her screen, showing the same arrogant confidence that Threll had once displayed. You have one opportunity to surrender, Vorn announced. Lay down your weapons and accept Velen authority. Your planet will become an official disposal site, but your species will be allowed to live as workers. Una's response was calm. I have a different offer. Leave now, and we will not pursue you. Stay, and you will learn why humans are not easy to destroy. Vorn laughed. You have stolen some of our technology, but you remain primitives. You cannot defeat the Empire. Then come and prove it. The communication ended. The battle began, The Velen fleet advanced in perfect formation. Their weapons fired in coordinated waves, sending beams of energy toward the human ships. Space lit up with explosions as the two forces clashed. Captain Tay commanded the Morning Star from the center of the human formation. His ship shook as enemy fire struck its hull, but the alien metal armor held. He returned fire, targeting the weapon systems of the nearest Velen ship. "All ships, stay mobile," he ordered. "Do not let them pin us down. Hit and move, hit and move." The human ships were smaller and faster. They darted between the larger Velen vessels, striking quickly and then moving away before the enemy could respond. The tactics confused the Velen commanders, who were used to enemies that stood and fought in straight lines. Captain Sue led her evening blade on a dangerous run directly at the Velen flagship. Enemy fire filled the space around her, but she dodged and weaved with skill born from years of training. "Launching special payload," she announced. A single missile flew from her ship. It was small and slow compared to normal weapons, easy to ignore. The Velen did not even bother to shoot it down. That was their mistake. The missile struck the flagship's hull and released its contents. Concentrated toxins from 1,000 alien containers flooded into the ship through the impact hole. Alarms screamed as the poison spread through air, systems, and water supplies. The Velen crew had never experienced their own toxins. They had no shield protein. They had no protection. Within minutes, the flagship was in chaos as soldiers and officers collapsed at their stations. "All ships, launch special weapons," Una ordered. Across the battle, human ships fired their poison missiles. The Velen fleet, so confident in their superiority, found themselves facing a weapon they had never imagined. Their own garbage, collected and concentrated and sent back to them. Admiral Vorm watched in horror as ship after ship fell to the toxins. His crew was dying around him. His flagship was filling with poison. He had come to teach these primitives a lesson, and instead, they were teaching him. "Retreat," he finally ordered, his voice weak and shaking. "All ships, retreat." The remaining Velen vessels turned and fled. They left behind the wreckage of 20 ships destroyed or disabled by weapons built from their own waste. The human fleet had lost 8 ships, but they had won. The battle was over, but the message was clear. News of the defeat reached the Velen Empire within weeks. Their greatest fleet had been turned back by primitives. Their own toxins had been used against them. The disposal planet had become a nightmare. The Emperor was furious, but his advisors were afraid. If humans could do this much damage with limited resources, what would happen if the war continued? What would happen if humans learned to build larger ships, more powerful weapons? A different message arrived at Earth 3 months after the battle. It was not a threat. It was a request for peace. The Velen Empire proposed a treaty. They would stop all dumping on Earth immediately. They would provide compensation for centuries of damage. They would recognize humanity as an independent species with full rights in galactic society. In return, they asked only one thing: that humans never use the toxin weapons against Velen civilian populations. Admiral Una read the proposal in her office. Commander Nari, a young officer who had risen quickly through the ranks during the war, stood beside her. "Do you trust them?" Nari asked. Una thought carefully before answering. "I trust that they are afraid. They have seen what we can do. They know we survived their worst, and we turned it against them. That fear will keep them honest." She signed a treaty. 1 year later, the first official Velen ambassador arrived on Earth. He was nervous and uncomfortable, constantly checking his environment suit for leaks. The poison that filled Earth's air and water was harmless to humans now, but deadly to Velen. Dr. Wu met him at the landing site. The old scientist was in a wheelchair now, too weak to walk, but still determined to see this moment. "Welcome to Earth," Wu said. I hope you will find our planet educational." The ambassador looked around at the green trees, the blue sky, the humans walking freely in air that would kill him in minutes. "How?" he asked. "How did you survive all that poison?" Wu smiled. It was a question he had asked himself for years. Now he knew the answer. "We adapted," he said simply. "Humans have always adapted. Every challenge makes us stronger. Every poison becomes a tool. Every enemy becomes a lesson." He looked up at the sky, where Velen ships had once dumped their garbage without a second thought. "Your empire threw its worst at us and walked away. You assumed we would die. But we did not die. We grew. We learned. We became something new." The old scientist's eyes shone with pride. "You used Earth as a toxic dump. You did not know humanity lived here. Now you know. And now the whole galaxy knows. We are not victims. We are not garbage. We are survivors." He extended his wrinkled hand to the alien ambassador. "Welcome to the planet that refused to die." The ambassador hesitated, then shook the human's hand. A new chapter in galactic history was beginning. And humanity, forged in poison and hardened by neglect, was ready to write it. The alarm started at 3 in the morning. Admiral Yuna was asleep in her quarters when the sound cut through her dreams. She was on her feet and running toward the command center before she was fully awake. After 10 years of waiting, she knew what this alarm meant. They had returned. The command center was chaos when she arrived. Officers shouted orders. Screens displayed data from satellites and sensors around the world. In the center of the main display, a single red dot was moving toward Earth. "Report," Yuna commanded. General Day was already there, his old face hard and focused. "One ship," he said. "Large, same design as the containers we have been finding. It entered the solar system 2 hours ago and is heading directly for Earth." "Just one?" "Just one. Same as always. They come alone, dump their garbage, and leave." Yuna looked at the display. The alien ship was still far away, but it was moving fast. It would reach Earth within 12 hours. "They do not know," she said quietly. "They still think they are dumping waste on a dead planet." They nodded. "This is our chance. We can catch them by surprise." Yuna made her decision quickly. "Launch the Morning Star and the Evening Blade. Have them intercept the alien ship before it reaches the atmosphere. I wanted to talk to these creatures face to face." Within the hour, 2 human warships rose from their hidden bases and flew toward space. The Morning Star was commanded by Tay, the young engineer who had helped discover the first containers. The Evening Blade was led by a fierce captain named Sue, a woman who had lost her family to radiation sickness caused by alien waste. They were ready for this moment. They had trained for years. They had studied the alien containers and learned everything they could about the technology. Their ships were built with alien metals and powered by alien energy. If anyone could meet the aliens as equals, it was them. The Velen ship detected the 2 human vessels when they were still thousands of kilometers apart. On the bridge, Commander Thrall, the same commander who had first marked Earth for disposal centuries ago, kept alive by Velen technology, stared at his screen in disbelief. "What is this?" he demanded. "There are ships approaching us." His assistant, Kor, now old and slow, but still serving, checked the readings multiple times. "I do not understand, Commander. The ships appear to be from the disposal planet." "Impossible. No intelligent life exists there." "The readings are clear, Commander. These ships are made from Velen metals. They are powered by Velen energy cores. But their design is different. Primitive in some ways, advanced in others." Thrall felt something he had not experienced in a long time. Fear. "How?" He whispered. The answer came through his communication system. A human voice, translated by computers that had spent years learning the alien language. Velen ship, this is Admiral Yuna of Earth. You are entering protected space. Stop your approach immediately. The message repeated in multiple languages. There was no anger in the voice, only calm authority. Thrall did not know what to do. In all his centuries of service, he had never encountered a situation like this. Disposal planets were supposed to be dead. They were supposed to be empty. They were not supposed to have warships that could match Velen technology. Commander, orders? Kor asked nervously. Before Thrall could answer, the two human ships appeared on visual display. They were smaller than his vessel, but they moved with speed and purpose. Their hulls gleamed with the unmistakable shine of Velen metals. Tay's voice came through the communication system. We are prepared to use force if necessary, but we would prefer to talk first. Your choice. Thrall finally found his voice. This is Commander Thrall of the Velen Empire. You will explain how you obtained our technology. You will surrender your vessels. This is not a request. There was a pause. Then, a different voice. Captain Sue laughed. It was not a friendly sound. Let me explain something to you, Commander, she said. For hundreds of years, your empire has been dumping poison on our world. You killed my parents. You killed my brother. You thought you could use our planet as your garbage dump because we were too primitive to stop you. Her voice hardened. You were wrong. The evening blade moved suddenly, faster than Thrall had thought possible. Before his weapons officer could react, the human ship had positioned itself directly in front of his vessel, blocking any escape route. We have learned many things from your garbage, Sue continued. We have learned how your ships work. We have learned how your weapons function. We have learned how to defend against them. And we have learned how to attack. Warning lights flashed across Thrall's bridge. The human ships had locked weapons on his vessel. He could see the energy readings. They were using Velen weapons, modified and improved. You cannot defeat us, Thrall said, but his voice shook. The Empire is vast. You are one planet. If you attack me, 1,000 ships will come to destroy you. Maybe. Admiral Yuna's voice returned to the communication. But you will not be alive to see it. And I think your empire will be very surprised to learn that their garbage dump has teeth. A long silence followed. Thrall looked at his options. His ship was strong, but he was outnumbered. The human vessels were clearly designed for combat, something his disposal ship was not. If he fought, he would lose. What do you want? He finally asked. First, you will stop dumping your poison on our world, forever. Second, you will tell us everything about the Velen Empire. Third, you will deliver a message to your leaders. What message? Yuna's voice was calm, but filled with cold determination. Tell them that Earth is no longer a dead planet. Tell them that the creatures they ignored have grown strong. Tell them that if they ever return here with hostile intent, they will face a species that has been forged in poison and hardened by centuries of your neglect. Tell them that we are ready for war if they want it, but we are also ready for peace if they choose wisely. Thrall closed his eyes. Everything he knew about the universe had just been turned upside down. Primitive species were not supposed to survive Velen toxins. They were not supposed to build warships. They were not supposed to capture Velen commanders. Yet here he was, surrounded by impossible ships, facing an impossible enemy. I will deliver your message, he said quietly. Good. We will escort you out of our system. Do not return unless you come in peace. The two human ships moved to flank the Velen vessel. Thrall ordered his crew to change course, to begin the long journey back to the Empire. As his ship turned away from Earth, he looked at the blue planet one last time. For centuries, he had thought of it as nothing but a dump. A dead rock. a place to throw away things that did not matter. Now, he understood his mistake. The humans had taken everything his empire had thrown at them. They had survived the poison. They had learned from it. They had grown stronger because of it, and they were angry. As the Velen ship disappeared into the darkness of space, Captain Sue allowed herself a small smile. She touched the picture of her family that she kept in her pocket. "Rest now," she whispered. "They know we are here. They will think twice before coming back." On the Morning Star, Tay sat back in his chair and let out a long breath. They had done it. They had faced the aliens and won without firing a single shot. But he knew this was just the beginning. The message would reach the Velen Empire. Their leaders would have to decide how to respond. Would they accept humanity as equals? Or would they try to destroy the species that had dared to defy them? Only time would tell. For now, the two ships returned to Earth as heroes. The secret was finally out. Humanity knew it was not alone in the universe, and humanity was ready. 5 years passed since the discovery in the Pacific Ocean. The secret research base had grown into a massive underground complex. Hidden beneath the mountains of Korea, thousands of scientists worked there now, studying the alien waste that continued to arrive from the ocean floor. Dr. Wu was one of those scientists. He was a thin man with tired eyes and hair that had turned gray from stress and long nights. He had spent the last 3 years trying to solve a single problem: how to neutralize the alien toxins. It was not easy work. The alien chemicals were complex beyond anything human science had ever seen. They attacked living cells in ways that doctors could not understand. They destroyed DNA, broke down proteins, and poisoned blood. Every test subject, mice, fish, plants, died within hours of exposure. Yet somehow, life in the ocean had adapted. Somehow, organisms had learned to survive in water filled with these same poisons. Wu needed to understand how. He sat in his laboratory late one night, surrounded by screens showing chemical formulas and biological data. His assistant, a young woman named Yeri, brought him his 10th cup of coffee. "Doctor, you should sleep," she said gently. "You have been awake for 36 hours. Wu shook his head. "I cannot sleep. I am too close. I know I am too close." He had been studying a sample of seaweed recovered from near one of the oldest dump sites. This seaweed lived in water so toxic that it should have died instantly. Instead, it grew thick and strong, covering the ocean floor in a carpet of green. "Look at this," Wu said, pointing to his screen. "The seaweed cells have changed. They have developed a new structure, something like a filter. The toxins enter the cell, but they are trapped in this filter and cannot reach the important parts. The cell survives." Yeri looked at the data. "Can we copy this? Can we create something similar for humans?" "That is exactly what I am trying to do." Wu worked through the night and into the next day. He studied the seaweed's genetic code. He mapped every chemical reaction in its cells. Slowly, piece by piece, he began to understand the secret of its survival. The breakthrough came on the 3rd day. Wu discovered that the seaweed produced a special protein, a molecule that could capture alien toxins and lock them away safely. If he could create this protein in the laboratory, he could develop a treatment that would protect humans from the alien poison. He immediately began the work. It took him 8 months to create the first successful batch. The protein was dark purple, almost black, and it smelled strange. But when he tested it on contaminated water, the toxins disappeared within minutes. "It works," he whispered, staring at the clean water in his test tube. "It actually works." The news spread quickly through the research base. Within a year, Wu's protein was being produced in large quantities. They called it SHIELD, and it became the foundation of everything that followed. With SHIELD protecting them, scientists could finally study the alien material safely. Teams of researchers worked on different aspects of the alien technology. Some focused on the strange metals. Others studied the energy systems. A few tried to decode the alien language. The discoveries came faster and faster. Hannah, the scientist who had first identified the containers on the submarine, led a team that studied the alien metals. She found that these metals were incredibly strong, stronger than steel, lighter than aluminum, and completely resistant to heat and cold. A sheet of alien metal only 1 centimeter thick could stop a bullet from a tank. "We can use this," she told General Day in a meeting. "We can build ships and planes that are almost impossible to destroy." In another part of the base, engineers discovered that the alien waste containers were powered by small energy cores. These cores were the size of a fist, but they contained more power than a nuclear reactor. The aliens had thrown them away like empty batteries. "They must have so much energy that this amount means nothing to them," said Tay, who had transferred from the submarine to work at the research base. "To us, a single core could power a city for 100 years. The human team began building. They used alien metals to create new ships. They installed alien energy cores to power them. They developed weapons that combined human engineering with alien technology. The first ship was completed in the 6th year after the discovery. They named it the Morning Star, and it was unlike anything humanity had ever built. It was fast, strong, and carried weapons that could destroy targets from hundreds of kilometers away. Its hull was covered in alien metal that could resist anything the ocean or the enemy could throw at it. But research was not only about weapons. Medical teams used WU's shield to develop treatments for radiation poisoning and chemical exposure. Farmers discovered that certain alien elements could make crops grow faster and stronger. Engineers found ways to use alien materials to clean polluted water and soil. Humanity was not just surviving the alien poison anymore. Humanity was thriving because of it. The aliens had tried to destroy Earth with their garbage. Instead, they had given humans the tools to become stronger. In her office, Captain Yuna, now Admiral Yuna, promoted for her role in the discovery, looked at reports from around the world. Other nations had found alien containers in their waters too. The dumping was not limited to the Pacific. It covered the entire planet. She shared the shield technology with trusted allies. The alien metals and energy cores remained secret for now, but the protection against toxins was given freely. Too many people were getting sick from the slowly spreading poison. Humanity needed to work together to survive. Not everyone agreed with this approach. Some governments wanted to keep everything secret. Others demanded access to all the discoveries. There were arguments and threats and moments when it seemed like humans might fight each other instead of preparing for the aliens. But Admiral Yuna and General Day kept pushing for cooperation. They reminded everyone of the real enemy, the unknown creatures who had used Earth as a garbage dump for centuries. "They will return," Yuna told the United Nations in a secret session. "They have been coming back regularly for hundreds of years. And when they come again, they will find something they did not expect. They will find a humanity that has learned to survive. A humanity that has turned their weapons against them. A humanity that is ready to fight." The representatives listened in silence. The evidence was undeniable. The alien containers were real. The threat was real. A global defense plan was created. Secret factories were built to produce ships and weapons using alien technology. Training programs prepared soldiers for combat against an enemy they had never seen. Scientists continued their research, looking for any advantage they could find. Dr. Wu worked harder than ever. His hair was completely white now, and his hands shook when he held his equipment. But his mind was still sharp, and his determination had not weakened. One evening, Yeri found him sitting alone in his laboratory, staring at a piece of alien material. "What are you thinking about?" she asked. Wu smiled sadly. "I am thinking about the aliens. They are so advanced. They have technology we cannot even begin to understand. They control energy sources that seem like magic to us. And yet they made a terrible mistake. They threw away their garbage on a planet they thought was empty. They never checked. They never looked closely. They assumed we did not exist. Wu held up the piece of alien material. It glowed softly in his palm. Their arrogance might be their weakness. They do not know what we are. They do not know what we can do. And when they find out, he closed his fist around the glowing material. They will learn that humans are very, very hard to kill. The submarine moved through the dark water like a silent hunter. Its name was the Sea Dragon, and it belonged to the Korean Naval Research Division. Inside, a crew of 12 worked quietly at their stations, monitoring screens and checking instruments. They were 3,000 meters below the surface, deeper than most humans had ever gone. Captain Yuna sat in the command chair and watched the sonar display. She was 42 years old, with short black hair and calm eyes that had seen many strange things in her 20 years of service. But nothing had prepared her for this mission. "Captain, we are approaching the coordinates," said her navigator. A young man named Tae. He was the best engineer on the ship, known for keeping the submarine running even when everything seemed broken. Yuna nodded. "Slow to 1/3 speed. Activate the external cameras." 3 weeks ago, a research satellite had detected something unusual on the ocean floor. The images were unclear, but they showed structures that did not match any known geological formation. The government had sent the Sea Dragon to investigate. The screens flickered to life, showing the dark water outside. Powerful lights on the submarine cut through the blackness, revealing the sandy bottom of the Pacific Ocean. At first, there was nothing unusual, just rock, sand, and the occasional deep-sea fish swimming past. Then Hana, the ship's chief scientist, gasped, "Captain, are you seeing this?" Yuna leaned forward. On the screen, something massive was taking shape in the distance. It was not a rock. It was not a natural formation. It was a container, a huge metal box the size of a warehouse, sitting on the ocean floor like it had been dropped from the sky. "What is that?" Tae whispered. "I do not know," Yuna replied. "Take us closer, carefully." The Sea Dragon approached the container slowly. As they got nearer, they could see more details. The metal was unlike anything Yuna had ever seen. It was dark gray, almost black, and it seemed to absorb the light from their submarine rather than reflect it. Strange symbols were carved into its surface. Not Korean, not Chinese, not any language from Earth. "Run those symbols through the database," Yuna ordered. Hannah worked at her computer for several minutes. Her face grew more confused with each passing second. "Captain, there is no match. These symbols do not exist in any known human writing system. They are completely unknown." The bridge fell silent. Everyone understood what this meant, but no one wanted to say it out loud. Finally, Tae spoke. "If it is not human, then what is it?" Before anyone could answer, the sonar operator, a quiet woman named Minji, raised her hand. "Captain, there is more. I am detecting additional objects to the north." "Many more?" Yuna felt a chill run down her spine. "How many?" Minji checked her readings twice before answering. "At least 47. Spread across the ocean floor in a pattern. They continue as far as our sensors can reach." Yuna made a decision. "Document everything. Take samples if we can, but do not touch the containers directly. We do not know what is inside them." The Sea Dragon spent the next 6 hours exploring the area. What they found was shocking. The containers were not alone. There were hundreds of them, stretching for kilometers across the ocean floor. Some were old and rusted, clearly having been there for centuries. Others were newer, their metal still shiny and unmarked. The oldest containers had broken open over time. Green and black substances had leaked out and mixed with the water and sand. The crew detected high levels of radiation and unknown chemicals near these broken containers. Yet life still existed here. Strange fish with glowing eyes swam through the toxic water. Unusual plants grew on the poisoned sand. Life had adapted. "This is impossible," Hannah said, studying her data. "These radiation levels should kill everything. But these organisms are thriving. Some of them seem to actually feed on the toxic materials." Una thought about this. "Life finds a way," she said quietly. "It always has." When the Sea Dragon finally returned to port, Una knew their discovery would change the world. She was right. Within hours, her report reached the highest levels of government. Within days, a secret meeting was called in Seoul. Scientists, military leaders, and government officials gathered to discuss what the submarine had found. Una stood before them and presented her findings. Photographs of the containers flashed on the screen. Data about the unknown chemicals filled page after page of reports. "We believe these containers have been arriving on Earth for hundreds of years," she explained. "Possibly longer. Someone, or something, has been using our oceans as a dumping ground for toxic waste." An older general named Day, a man with white hair and a stern face, leaned forward. "You are saying aliens? Actual aliens?" "I am saying the evidence points to an intelligence that is not human," Una replied carefully. "The materials in these containers do not exist on Earth. The symbols do not match any human language. The technology used to build them is far beyond anything we can create." The room exploded with questions and arguments. Some people refused to believe it. Others were terrified. A few looked angry that someone had dared to use Earth as their garbage dump. General Day raised his hand for silence. The room quieted immediately. "Assuming this is true," he said slowly, "what do we do about it?" Hannah, who had come with Una to present the scientific data, stepped forward. "We study it. These containers hold technology and materials we have never seen before. If we can understand them, we can use them." "Use alien garbage?" someone asked with a laugh. Hannah did not laugh. "One person's garbage is another person's treasure. The chemicals in these containers are deadly, yes, but they are also powerful. If we can learn to control them, to neutralize them, to perhaps even weaponize them." She left the sentence unfinished, but everyone understood. General Day nodded slowly. "Start the research immediately. Full secrecy. No one outside this room learns what we have found. If these aliens return, I want us to be ready." The meeting ended, and the work began. A secret research base was built near the coast, disguised as a regular naval facility. Scientists from around the country were recruited, told only that they were working on a project of extreme importance. Una was placed in charge of the recovery operation. Week after week, her submarines retrieved containers from the ocean floor. Each one was carefully transported to the research base, where teams of scientists worked day and night to understand its contents. What they discovered amazed them. The alien waste contained elements that did not exist in human science. Materials that could store incredible amounts of energy. Chemicals that could power machines for centuries without running out. Metals stronger than anything humans had ever created. The aliens had thrown away treasures, and humanity was about to pick them up. In her small office. Late one night, Una looked at a piece of alien metal recovered from one of the oldest containers. It was smooth and warm to the touch, and it seemed to glow faintly in the dark. "You thought we were nothing," she whispered to the unknown creatures who had sent it. "You thought we would die. But we are still here. And now we have your technology." She smiled and placed the metal in a secure box. The game was just beginning. The stars were cold and silent when the first Velen ship entered the solar system. It was a massive vessel, dark gray like storm clouds, and it moved slowly through the empty space between planets. The ship carried no soldiers. It carried no explorers. It carried only waste thousands of tons of poison that the Velen Empire needed to throw away. Commander Thrall stood on the bridge of the ship and looked at the blue planet on his screen. His gray skin was smooth, and his large black eyes showed no emotion. To him, this world was nothing special. It was just another rock floating in space. "Scan complete," said his assistant, a younger Velen named Kor. "The third planet shows high levels of water and oxygen. However, there are no signs of intelligent life. No cities, no technology, no communication signals." Thrall nodded slowly. "What about lower life forms?" "Some biological activity," Kor replied. "Simple creatures. Nothing that matters. The radiation levels from their sun are high. Any advanced species would have left this system long ago." This was exactly what Thrall wanted to hear. The Velen Empire was powerful and rich, but their factories produced terrible waste. Their nuclear plants created poison that could kill for thousands of years. Their chemical industries made liquids so dangerous that even a small drop could destroy an entire ecosystem. They needed places to dump this waste, and they needed those places to be far from their own worlds. Earth was perfect. "Begin the dumping procedure," Thrall ordered. The great ship moved closer to the planet. Large doors opened on its belly, and containers began to fall toward the blue world below. Each container was the size of a small building. Each one held enough poison to kill millions of living things. They fell through the clouds and crashed into the oceans with tremendous force. On the surface of Earth, it was the year 1347. In a small village in Korea. A young farmer named June was working in his rice field when he saw the strange lights in the sky. He stopped and watched as bright objects fell from the heavens and disappeared beyond the mountains. The ground shook slightly beneath his feet. "Did you see that?" He called to his wife Bora, who was carrying water from the river. She looked up at the now empty sky and shook her head. "See what?" June stared at the horizon for a long moment. He had seen something. He was sure of it. But the sky was clear now, and there was work to do. He returned to his farming and tried to forget the strange lights. He could not know that deep in the ocean, hundreds of miles away, the first Velen containers had just cracked open. Green and black liquids were spreading through the water. Radioactive materials were sinking to the ocean floor. The poison was beginning its long journey through the planet's systems in space. Commander Thrall watched the dumping with satisfaction. "How long until the planet becomes completely toxic?" he asked. Kor checked his calculations. At the current dumping rate, the ecosystem will collapse within 200 of their years. After that, the planet will be safe for additional dumping. The radiation will prevent any new life from developing. Excellent. Mark this planet as disposal site 7749. We will return every 50 cycles to add more waste. The Velen ship turned away from Earth and began its long journey back to the Empire. Thrall did not look back at the blue planet. It was just another garbage dumped to him. One of thousands spread across the galaxy. But the Velen had made a mistake. Their scans were not wrong. There were no cities, no technology, no radio signals. But there was something their machines could not measure. There was something hiding in the simple villages and growing farms of this primitive world. There was humanity. And humanity was very, very good at surviving. The years passed. More Velen ships came. More poison fell from the sky. The containers crashed into every ocean on the planet. They fell into the Atlantic, the Pacific, the Indian Ocean. Some broke apart on impact. Others sank whole to the bottom of the sea and slowly leaked their contents over decades. Strange things began to happen. Fish died in great numbers near the dump sites. The water turned strange colors. Fishermen in coastal villages reported seeing glowing lights beneath the waves. Some people got sick with diseases that doctors had never seen before. In Korea, Jun's grandson, a clever young man named Suho, noticed that the rice in certain fields grew differently. Some plants died, but others grew stronger and taller than ever before. He did not understand why, but he carefully saved the seeds from the strongest plants and used them the next year. This was something the Velen had not expected. Life on Earth was not giving up. It was adapting. Hundreds of years passed. The Velen returned again and again, always dumping more waste, always assuming the planet was dying. They never landed. They never looked closely. They simply dropped their poison and left. By the year 1850, humans had built great ships of their own. They sailed across the oceans that the Velen were poisoning. They built cities on coastlines where alien waste was slowly washing up on shore. They drank water that carried tiny amounts of extraterrestrial chemicals, and they survived. More than survived. They grew stronger. Their immune systems learned to fight new threats. Their bodies adapted to handle toxins that should have killed them. Generation after generation, the human race was being forged in a fire of alien poison. The Velen Empire continued to see Earth as a dead world. Their scans showed high radiation, toxic chemicals, and no advanced technology. Their computers told them that nothing intelligent could possibly live there. Their computers were wrong. By the year 2024, humanity had built nuclear power plants, sent rockets to space, and created communication networks that covered the entire planet. They had survived world wars, plagues, and natural disasters. They had adapted to every challenge their world had thrown at them. And now, they were about to discover the truth. Somewhere deep in the Pacific Ocean, the latest Velen container had just landed. It was different from the others. It was larger, newer, and covered with alien writing that no human had ever seen before. Soon, someone would find it, and everything would change.